Today is Wednesday, Parashat Emor. Last week we read Parashat Kedoshim that spoke about the sanctity and holiness of Am Yisrael. This week, Parasha speaks at the beginning of the Parasha about the Kohanim and their level of sanctity. Kohanim, the priests and the high priests. So there is Kedusha of a people, Kedusha of the Kohanim, of the families of Kohanim. But then later in the Parasha speaks about the sanctity of time, the holiness of time. And it speaks about the appointed times of the year that have certain, the holidays that have a certain sanctity associated with them. But it begins first with Shabbat, which is once a week on the seventh day, on the day of Shabbat. We have a day of sanctity that is a day that is dedicated more to spirituality and has a certain flavor to it. But that flavor of Shabbat, of the holiness, is a time of inspiration to be carried into the rest of the year, as if we were to recharge our batteries. Once a week, we take time off from all the electronic devices and all the workaday world and all the mundane activities to concentrate and focus on the spiritual. That's the day of Shabbat. But then the parasha goes into all the holidays of the year. Pesach and Shavuot and Rosh Hashanah and Kippur and Sukkot. And each one of these days has a certain aspect that we highlight in terms of its holiness. Pesach is Zman Cherutenu, is the time of our freedom. And that idea of freedom associated with Pesach, in terms of the spiritual freedom from all sorts of addictions and wrong ideas, that freedom that we speak about on Pesach, that is freedom from slavery in Egypt, but it's also freedom in general, and the spirituality associated with it in the way of Torah is something that we highlight on Pesach, but is again to be carried into the rest of the year. Then we have Shavuot, the time of Matan Toratenu, the time that we receive the Torah, and that celebration is something that we should carry with us also into the rest of the year. We have Rosh Hashanah, that is the aspect of Lehamlich, to declare the sovereignty of Hashem, to realize that Hashem rules the world, is the sovereign over the whole world. That idea is what we highlight on Rosh Hashanah, but then we carry that aspect with us. It's as if we recharge our batteries on those very important aspects and values to be carried into the rest of the year. We have then Yom Kippur, which is a day of forgiveness. And the day of forgiveness and the day of reconnecting with Hashem is a day that has a very high level of spirituality associated with it. And we dedicate these times, these are appointed times throughout the years, to just be as reminder. And of course, on those days, there is an extra aspect in the world of that idea that is associated with that holiday. And then we get extra assistance, mishamayim, to be able to connect with that aspect. But then the idea is also to be inspired and carried throughout the rest of the year. And then Sukkot, Zman Simchatenu, the time of our rejoicing and our simcha in serving Hashem, is something that we highlight on the holiday of Sukkot. But then again, it's something that is not just for the day of Sukkot, it's something to get inspired on the holidays of Sukkot and then carry it with us throughout the rest of the year. So the parasha begins with the sanctity of people, Kohanim, amongst the Jewish people, having that extra level of Kedusha. Then we go into the rest of the parasha, later in the parasha, about the idea of sanctity of time, which is a very important aspect that we as Jews celebrate every week, once a week on Shabbat, and the rest of the holidays as appointed times, and then carrying that idea with us that we highlight on that holiday into each day of the rest of the year. As we get inspired on the holidays, it should carry us in the rest of the year with those ideas that the holidays teach us of. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.